Kia ora guys, Kristen Harper here. Welcome to Humanising Digital Transformation series of interviews where I'm unpacking digital transformation because it means different things to different people. And I'm interviewing a number of very cool people across a number of different industries, getting different perspectives on technology, how we apply it to our businesses. And today I've got with me Lee Timitimu. Lee is the founder and CEO of Arataki Systems. He's also the founder of the Maori Tech Association. And one thing that I find really interesting about you, bro, is there's not too many people that have got I guess an IT engineer and like an analyst type background, but who's also into like filmmaking and storytelling. They seem to be quite the opposite person. The opposite personalities. It's like talking about the salesman and the builder. They're quite sort of different. So it'd be quite cool to understand, I guess, sort of where that's come from. But bro, if you could just give us a wee bit of an introduction of yourself, about your businesses that you're involved in, because you've got a number there, so I don't really know where to start, bro. So I'll leave that up to you to take it away and tell us all about your passions in these areas.
Kia ora. Well, yeah, really good to be here, and thank you for the invite. So my name's Lee Timitimu. I wear a number of pōtaiao hats. Primarily, I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Arataki Systems. We're a Maori-owned, whānau-owned tech company that builds all sorts of things and delivers all sorts of service. I won't go deep into that, but essentially, really proud that we are Maori and owned and also family owned, something that's really dear and important to us as a business, but also as a team and also as a family. I'm also, of course, the kaihotu, or the founder, I guess, or the navigator of the Maori Tech Association, and so that's pretty new, relatively new. And in fact, we've just today, or in the last few days, recently appointed an administrator that will be looking after the day-to-day tasks and responsibilities of that association. And it's really cool to see that sort of growing and developing. But the first thing was getting it off the ground, and kind of did that a few months ago. So yeah, that's kind of the main things that are sort of keeping me busy nowadays, other than my family. So I'm married with 4 kids, and as we all know, if we do have families with children, especially during this these COVID lockdown periods, it's a challenge in itself, but we're good.
It's all about juggling, eh?
It's all about juggling. Yeah, it's all about juggling these things, but we're good, and mentally I'm well. So also just wanted to touch on the mental health and mental well-being stuff as well, because just before the first lockdown last year, I was actually in a really, really difficult space mentally. So, but I'm pleased to say that I've kind of grown from that dark period in my life just not too long ago, actually, and sort of managed to grow myself personally. I'm very healthy now, and so that's really important to me as well. And the business is doing all right too. So
awesome. Well, yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that's really key right now as well, because everybody's been going through different things, different emotions with all of these continued lockdowns. But thank you for sharing, bro, because coming out of the last one, I did as well. And I think to be the best father, the best business owner, it's about being the best version of yourself. And when you go through that process and having to I guess pull yourself out of that and then find those things that do make you happy, it does make everything else that you're working on in your life so much better. So really appreciate you sharing that. Hey, but I guess let's start with the Maori Tech Association. I'm really keen to hear about why did you start that, and more importantly, what do you want your members to experience? And I guess in the context of humanizing digital transformation, this is all about, I think it's all about trying to simplify technology and make it more accessible for everybody. But I'd love to hear your thoughts around that now. And that's really a 3-pronged question, isn't it, in that one question? But
Yeah, no, all
we'll,
good.
we'll just roll with that.
Yeah, no, I'm all good with tricky questions. So I guess just to provide a bit of a backstory about myself, yes, I have been involved in tech for some time, almost 20 years now, specifically in the IT support services space.
You only
So
look 30.
you only look 30. Oh, that's very kind. But and the reason why I've stayed there, sorry, is that as Maori, we're very good at looking after people. So we're very good at genuinely wanting to solve people's problems. We care for people, we empathise, and so that's why I think it's made me particularly successful in that sort of customer service, sort of support services space, is because naturally these are just things, attributes that are inherent in myself as Maori, being raised in a big Maori family with a lot of love and care and all those sorts of things. So managed to, I guess, have quite a successful career over those decades, and then eventually founding my own business. So, but I also have a very creative aspiration to myself, so that it ties into and responds to you touching on the filmmaking and the storytelling stuff. So I've always been a creative by nature, and I actually think that's one of the things that gives me strength in terms of the way that I approach certain situations. Some might call it lateral thinking. I definitely think that creatives look at things in multiple ways, in different ways, and they're actually really great at being able to look at a problem, for example, and be able to find ways to deal with that particular challenge or problem. And it's because we think creatively, and our minds are not just like here. Our minds are actually all over around here, like outside of this thing we call the box.
It's funny you say that, because I can be very creative, but my partner, she is a creative as well, and I know her thought process around how she looks at her business and how she looks at things is quite different to me as well. So and I've worked with a lot of creatives, so I do get that looking at all the different angles and that. So
yeah, so that's kind of where that sort of thing came from. But just in terms of the Maori Tech Association, having worked in the tech sector for so long, there's been a number of attempts of sort of coordinating our efforts as a tech community, a Maori tech community over that time, certainly the time that I've been in the industry anyway. And I'm definitely not the first person or organisation that's tried to do something around sort of, bringing our people together. And I won't be the last for that matter. But particularly in the last couple of years, I've noticed that there really hasn't been something or some group or some entity that I can sort of buy into and be able to connect into this very healthy, vibrant, and exciting community that we know as the Maori Tech ecosystem. So so it's kind of been knocking around in the back of my mind for a couple of years now, and so I basically just decided, oh well, might as well do it. I might as well just do it, and
that's where those ideas always start, Ashley. Yeah, so might as well just.
Yeah, and and I guess with the networks that I have as well, so I know a lot of people in our community in the Maori Tech ecosystem. Spend a lot of time with them, having hui with them, having informal catch-ups, bumping into them here and there, and so it kind of made sense for me to sort of take all of that informal, sort of organic interactions that I was having, definitely over the last 2 or 3 years, and kind of maybe just pull it together into some sort of, official entity or some sort of association that actually starts coordinating a lot of the efforts that we're all doing as individual companies or individuals, and bringing everybody together on the same page, hopefully just connecting up some of the dots, because I can tell you that a lot of the hui that I have outside of my business meetings, a lot of it is a lot of this stuff where we're just connecting up, we're having coffee, we're just having a Zoom to catch up, we might bump into someone at the kuri lounge or something, just like all of this stuff is happening anyway. And so I just really wanted to kind of formalize that, those interactions, and that's how I guess the Maori Tech Association came to be.
Cool, bro. And that's I think that we do have that connectedness in New Zealand, where you sort of tend to run into a lot of people, all around the traps, and the most sort of, I guess we're sort of a very connected sort of people. Like not only Maori but Kiwis in general. And so we're just going through like a branding process with the upsell business, and we've been talking about the values and the importance of those values as we grow the business. And we're just talking about the differences between New Zealand and Australia, because we've got a sister company in Australia. And as we're going through that, it's like everybody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody here.
That's right.
So it's one of those networks here that you've got to do a really good job. You've got to continually add value, because if you don't, like it's a very connected sort of network. And what sort of experience do you want your members to have, or what is the ideal outcome that you want to do? I guess help your members with? Is that number one, connection, or is it generating opportunities, or is it with the technology, is it just sort of giving them different avenues for either work or different technology? What is that?
No, it's a really good question, and obviously one of the things that I considered when thinking about even setting up or establishing the MTA, I think the main one is connectedness. Just making sure that we're connected to each other through some platform, and hopefully that will be the MTA. Because I think, as I mentioned before, we're all doing amazing things as individuals, as individual businesses, or as individual people. And I just feel like there should be a lot more coordinated effort around connecting up all of those dots. We informally do these things when we meet up anyway, as I also mentioned. So I think it's really just creating an entity that will support that connectedness a lot more between our community. As you mentioned, New Zealand is a very small country, 5 million plus. If you look at Maori representation in the tech sector, it's even like incredibly small. Depending on what statistic you look at, it's between 4 to 6% of Maori that are represented in the tech sector today in New Zealand. That's woefully underrepresented, and I feel like we're not a big community, so it shouldn't take too much for us to come together. And it's all about coordinating our efforts. It's all about connecting into opportunities that we might be working on as individuals. It's about centralizing a lot of the mātauranga as well, like a lot of the knowledge and experience that we bring to the table as individuals, and putting it in a place where everybody can access it, share, learn. So those are all really important things as well. So there's a number of features and benefits that will come with the MTA as time goes on. But what we decided to start with was very simple, just to get our people on board, and that was a free individual membership where you two things. One, you receive the monthly e-pānui or monthly e-newsletter, and the second thing is you receive access to a private sort of social media communications group, and that's it. Just get started. Get people buying in.
About keeping it simple as well, eh? And I think and I hope you don't mind sharing, what we talked about before. Your experience with Arataki Systems and picking up the New Zealand Police contract would be really valuable for other people to hear about how you went about that and what that process was like and how you approached it, because there's a lot of other individual businesses that want to be working with these sort of a larger type contracts, but it's not really there's sort of other networks, procurement networks like Amotai, of how we can go about it, but really it's like once you start talking and you've got that platform to talk to individual people and you go like, hey, we're working on something here, then you're sort of helping with the success of those other businesses. And it's just sort of I guess it goes back to storytelling. It's just sharing those successes, and then hopefully through some of those learnings I'll be able to pick up those contracts and help grow their businesses, because we've got some cool things that we're doing within tech, and it's only going to get bigger. There's going to be more opportunities that are sort of coming out of that. But the other one was where do you see, I guess just on that, where do you see Maori storytelling playing a part in corporate New Zealand? And that, I guess that goes back to, and sort of growing your business is all about storytelling. And I think as Maori are very good at storytellers. So how do you see that in the corporate New Zealand context?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And actually, I've that question's been posed to me previously, so I guess to provide a little bit of context and around the mahi that we've done in storytelling, Māori storytelling in particular. Of course, Arataki Systems, we build digital cultural storytelling platforms, so that's pretty much our space, and we've been working successfully in that space for the last 5 years. But I actually have been I've actually been working in the Māori storytelling space for the last 12 years now. I founded a Māori storytelling collective called Te Reo Wainini o Tua about 12 years ago. And essentially that came off the back of my light bulb moment for that, creating that collective was I was basically at a tangi, at a funeral. It was my wife's grandfather who had passed away. He had just started sharing stories with her about their lands. Like literally the week or the weeks before he died, and then he passed away. And then we were sitting, I remember us standing in the car park outside of the marae and thinking to ourselves, oh heck, well that, you know, we've lost all of that knowledge and all of that story. So I decided in that moment that what can I do to sort of ensure that we retain as much of that story as possible, much of that knowledge and mātauranga as possible, and I decided to pull together a group of storytellers. Because as we know, Māori is an oral tradition. We used to transmit and transfer information and knowledge through story that was passed on from one person to the next generation. Unfortunately, you know, in the last 180 years, a lot of that has died off, but essentially the collective sort of aims to revive the oral tradition, but also revitalize a lot of the pūrākau or the stories that are very important to us as Māori. So I've been working in the space for a good 12 years now, and the thing that and why I'm so passionate about Māori storytelling is because I've seen within my events. So basically, I've got a collective of storytellers. We travel around New Zealand. We deliver stories through a series of events to our tamariki, to our children and youth. In those events, and what I've seen so many times, probably literally hundreds of times, is I've seen this thing that I call the golden connection. It's the connection between the storyteller, who's a physical person, there's no technology involved, and the child, tamariki, and you can see it in their face, you know, literally, bro, you can see it in the kid's face. They're just so engaged, so immersed in the story that might not even be about their own iwi or their waka or their rohe, but there's elements in that story that are relevant to them, and they just connected to it. So and it's such an amazing thing to see. So I basically want to take that that connection that I've seen so many times in the physical context, and I chuck it into technology, you know, put a technology layer over that so that more people at scale can connect into these stories that are so very rich and so very important to us. So yeah, hopefully that explains kind of what the power.
Mate, that's awesome. Like it is, you know, it is all about storytelling. It's you know, I guess how we've grown up, and you know, when you know, putting it back into the business context, that storytelling is all about selling your value to your potential audience. Yeah, whether it is corporate, whether it's you know, children or whānau or whatever. I think that's really awesome, bro. And I guess with that, what sort of impact do you want to create?
So for me, well, you know, I'm only one person, bro, and I do a lot of different bits and pieces, but ultimately, and certainly with everything that I involve myself with, whether that's the storytelling collective, whether that's Ko Maui Hangaro, which is another initiative that I co-founded 3 years ago, basically a summit to inspire our rangatahi into pathways in tech and innovation entrepreneurship. So essentially, I try and involve myself with initiatives or kaupapa that seek to empower our people in so many different ways. It just so happens that I work in the tech space, so it's kind of my realm of choice at the moment. But
well, it's your superpower, right? It's where you are.
It is, yeah.
It's where you play, and it's going to continue. It's the world we live in now, so it's going to continue to grow. So I think now is the right time. Now is the right time to keep growing these sort of things and keep.
That's right.
And it's getting that engagement, eh?
Yeah. And it's getting our people involved as well, bro. Like, especially our rangatahi, you know, we need to show them that a career pathway in tech is a real thing and it's actually feasible for them. And they're actually really good at it. They've got all the attributes that have been passed down through their whakapapa from their ancestors, things like innovation and troubleshooting and thinking outside of the box and, you know, taking risks. We only need to look at Maui to see all of the risks that he took, but a lot of the decisions that he made, albeit stupid decisions at the time, were actually impacted on us as a humankind, you know. So there's all of these things that I believe our rangatahi possess that make them perfectly aspirated for a career in technology. We just need to show them the way. We need to show them the path. So for me, it's about creating an impact by involving myself with initiatives that you know, sort of empower our people to move on to greater success, particularly in the technology space, you know. So I'll keep doing what I can to support that, and that's even outside of my business, Arataki Systems. You know, there's so many facets to the mahi that I do at the moment, but the key thing across all of these initiatives that I'm involved with is they you know, they're things that I'm passionate about, so it helps.
Oh, bro, I think any business, it's probably the biggest thing you've got to be passionate about it, because if you're not, it's not going to last, you know. Because that passion is what gets you out of bed, that keeps driving you when stuff gets really hard, eh? So but bro, look, thank you so much for your time today. Really enjoyed our korero. I see you're already creating impact in the things that you're involved with, and I look forward to seeing, especially the Maori Tech Association over the next year or so. Looking really forward to see how that evolves and what you create out of that. So, bro, thank you so much for your time.
No worries. Awesome. Kia ora.
Kia ora.